What's going on, everybody? Excuse me. What is going on, everybody? My name is JeffLightsyJr. here with the Black Boss Channel and Victory Formation. Thank you guys for tuning in. Be sure to come on in. Tell a friend to tell a friend to tell a friend that we are here. Hit that thumbs up button, like, share, and subscribe button, because as you know, we upload every single day. Now, today we have an interesting take, an interesting topic to touch on, and it is the business of HBCU Sports. If you were paying attention this weekend, there was some great HBCU athletics being displayed on a nationally televised schedule. You had the HBCU Legacy Bowl that took place on NFL Network. Team Gaither versus Team Eddie Robinson. All the great HBCU football players all hitting the stage, performing in front of NFL scouts, practicing in front of NFL scouts, doing all this great stuff. And then over at the All-Star Weekend with the NBA, you had the HBCU Classic, first time ever. It was amazing. We saw Howard take on Morgan State. Howard came out with a win for the MEAC school. Hit that thumbs up button. Let me know what city and what HBCU you representing, what city and what's your favorite HBCU in the comments, because we're here today to talk about the business of HBCU sports. See, HBCU sports is a money revenue style business. It's something that generates a ton of money. And maybe at one point it didn't generate a ton of money, but now it is a revenue driving thing. It is a revenue driving entity. Shout out to Miss Shanita Chrysler. She is awesome. Says DI Love is in the house. Jackson State is in the house. So this is big because the business of football, specifically, I'm specifically talking about football. Ever since the arrival of Deion Sanders, who was the ultimate businessman, ever since the arrival of Deion Sanders to Jackson State, you have seen the business of HBCU football hit the forefront. See, a lot of times when you talk about football, you leave out the business. When we talk about college football specifically, we leave out the fact that it's a business. Now, Ramon, he's JCSU class of 2000, JCSU class of 2000. Now, one thing that we have come to learn in the first 2 months of this year, we have come to find out that this thing we call business means a lot. When you have money and when you're in a money-making business and you're in a business that can generate revenue and that, keeps a lot of people fed, pays a lot of checks, and can potentially make a ton of checks, there's some checks and balances that need to take place. And so for a long time, HBCU schools, specifically football, I'm mainly talking about football, have been getting screwed over. They have been getting messed over in places that they shouldn't have. And I'm specifically talking about the Southern Heritage Classic. Now, as you all know, Jackson State originally pulled out of the Southern Heritage Classic. Why? Because Coach Prime told us, he's like, yo, this deal is garbage. Over 30 years of playing the Southern Heritage Classic, Jackson State has received $6 million. I think some of you guys did the math on that. It was like equivalent to like $250,000 a game. And now there are some smart people, not only at Jackson State, but there are some very, very smart business savvy coaches in HBCU football world. And they understand like, yo, if we want our product to continue to grow, we have to think like businessmen and less just like football coaches. At some of these other institutions, like major FBS, high power 5 coaches, they can just be football coaches. They can just be football coaches because the business is already buttoned up. The business is already taken care of. The business is already established. And so therefore, if they go out there and win football games, the business, they have other guys that take care of the business stuff and make sure all the contracts are dotted, all the contracts are signed, all the I's are dotted and T's are crossed. Well, when you're at an HBCU institution, both the AD in conjunction and a lot of times with the football coach, they're the ones that need to make sure the business is buttoned up. And there are some very, very savvy businessmen running some of these HBCU institutions nowadays. Chris McKay, Tuskegee in the building. Shout out to Tuskegee. So here is why we're seeing a trend. And it's not like I'm believing this on my own. Let me go ahead and pull some stuff up. First, I'm going to pull up a tweet that I put out earlier today. And a lot of you agreed with me. A lot of you agreed with me in saying, because I put this tweet out and it got some good reaction, because you all, as fans of these institutions, you all, as fans of these football programs, you all, as a big time fan base, understand that there is a reason why things are the way that they are. I said, I think the business savvy of HBCU football programs have grown drastically since Deion Sanders arrived at Jackson State. Now, Deion Sanders and Jackson State, they're putting out Coach Prime Season 2. And one thing that Coach Prime Season 1, and I'm sure they're going to get into it more in Season 2, taught us that there was a lot of infrastructure problems with HBCU organizations, infrastructure problems within HBCU athletics. I'm strictly talking about athletics. I'm not talking about the schools. I'm not talking about, what's going on as far as education wise. I'm strictly talking about athletics, and more specifically talking about football. Shanita says, I'm loving what Gremlin coaching in schools. Yes, and we're going to talk about Coach Hugh Jackson, because these are businessmen. Deion Sanders, Eddie George, Hugh Jackson, these are men that were a part of the NFL. And the NFL is big business. That's big business. And these men were a part of that organization in some shape, form, or fashion. Whether it was as a coach, assistant coach, or player, they were part of big business. They were a part of signing multiple contracts. They were a part of millions of dollars exchanging between organizations, exchanging between individuals, exchanging between agents. They were part of all of that. And they are bringing that business savviness to HBCU athletics that it desperately needs. It desperately needs, and we're seeing the change right before our eyes. And there's more than one way, right? So think back to Coach Prime Season 1. Deion Sanders spoke about how when he first got to Jackson State, there were things as simple as the names not being on the back of the jersey that bothered him. But he talked about how their practice field, you couldn't practice. It had lumps. It had holes. If it rained, you would be flooded out for multiple days. All of these kind of things, these problems, infrastructure problems with the football facility, infrastructure problems with the football program, infrastructure problems that was taking place at Jackson State. And so if it was happening at Jackson State, who even when they were losing, had losing seasons, led the FCS in attendance with 30, 35, then there 40,000 people at every home game. What do you think is taking place? Or what, like for me, from somebody from the outside looking in, what do you think is taking place at a school that only seats 10,000 people? At a school that only, they can't even get 20,000 people to show up. That means big time infrastructure problems are wrong with these institutions. And it's like, why is it like this? Why is it like this? Well, it was like this because the price of the dollar was so low. You were getting 20 cents on a dollar. You were getting 20 cents on a dollar. Say if you were worth a dollar, you were only getting 20 cents. Prime example was the Southern Heritage Classic contract. For 30 years, you get $6 million. So when it's like, okay, now things are different. That old regime is gone and the new regime is here. When we first talked about Jackson State pulling out Southern Heritage Classic, I read it with you guys. We read how President Dr. Glenda Glover was upset and sent shots at Jackson State. We read how Fred Jones leaked all the financials. We read all of that together. And I was kind of like, well, I see why Jackson State left. Hell, they wouldn't get nothing. And Deion Sanders like, yesterday's price ain't today's price. So I understood. And then they came out and said, yo, we're going to play the game one last time to kind of give all of our fans a warning, like, yo, we're not playing in this moving forward. And then recently, Eddie George did an interview. Eddie George, the head coach of Tennessee State, because remember, President Dr. Glenda Glover was like, yo, Jackson State's dead wrong for the way they did us. They didn't tell us this. They didn't tell us that. They X, Y, and Z. And Eddie George was like, yo, I spoke to Prime. I spoke to Deion Sanders. I understand why they left. And you know what? We're leaving too. The man said, yo, we ain't doing this no more either. Because this isn't right. He said in a lot nicer way than I'm saying it, but he essentially said, yo, like, this is bad business. Now you got to remember who these two men are. I spoke about how they played in the NFL. Outside of playing in the NFL, Deion Sanders has multiple sponsorships, whether it's Pepsi, whether it's Gillette, Under Armour, UFOs, like a number of brands. So therefore, he has a manager, Miss Constance Carter, SMAC Entertainment, who's saying people that represent Michael Strahan. That's why some of you all seen him on Good Morning America. That's why you guys see him interacting with Michael Strahan all the time. They have the same management company. They have the same, agents, same people that run their business. And so these men are businessmen. Michael Strahan, he's a businessman. Hugh Jackson has a tequila company. Hugh Jackson has other business ventures. He has a foundation. These are businessmen. Eddie George, outside of football, was an actor. Eddie George owned multiple businesses. Eddie George has a ton of companies that do a ton of different things. So they understand business. And they know when they arrive on something, you're not going to pay them 20, 25 cents on the dollar. You're going to pay the whole dollar. You are going to pay the entire dollar. And Ramon spoke about how this affects the band programs too. Yes, because here's the thing about football. Here's one thing you guys are going to learn. If you don't learn anything else from me, especially from this broadcast, you're going to learn football pays the bills. Let me say this one more time. Football and football programs, especially at the high-level institutions, at the high-level universities, they pay the bills. Think about for the Jackson State fans. For the Jackson State fans that are in this chat right now, think about this. Your football team, you average 42,000, almost 43,000 people a game at the Vet this past year. I think you guys are going to do 50,000 plus in this fall. 43,000 a game. How many people come to basketball games? You have a top-ranked women's basketball team. What, probably about 2,000, 3,000 people? If you have a good game, 5 maybe. So think about 42,000 on average. You had a game with 50 and 60,000, by the way, but 42,000 on average, almost 43 versus 5. 42 versus 5. Hell, let's give them 10. 42 versus 10. Do you see what I'm saying? 42,000 versus 10, 15, hell, give them 20. 20,000. And I don't think your arena sits 20,000, but even if you did, that's double. So therefore, football pays the bills. And now you have a celebrity as a head coach. And not only is he a celebrity, the greatest cornerback in the history of professional football, a college football Hall of Famer, a Super Bowl champion, a Pro Football Hall of Famer. He's a damn good coach. You just went 11-2. You won your first SWAC East title since 2013, your first SWAC title since 2007. You broke the FCS record in attendance. You won 11 games, the most wins in a program history for one season. Your only loss during the regular season was to an FBS program, and you only had 2 losses, and your second loss came in the last game that anybody could play in the entire black college football, the last game of the season. It's a pretty good season, I'd say. It wasn't where you wanted to be, but it's a lot further than where you were. Once again, it wasn't where you wanted to be, but it's a lot further than where you were. And think about the upgrades that you have experienced. You got a new practice field. You got a new locker room. You got new jerseys. You got your name on the back of the jerseys. All of that stuff costs money. Let's think about this. Jackson State, you don't get new practice fields. You don't get renovations to your game field. You don't get new jerseys. You don't get new helmets. You don't get all of this new eating facilities. Like I'm pretty sure your cafeteria got upgraded as well. All of that costs money. And so therefore, Coach Prime has been able to bring in the resources to change what's taking place in your situation. That's called big business. And what has that led? Those are all the things that it led in the great progression that it did for Jackson State. But this was a domino effect because of what Deion Sanders deciding to just take the job at Jackson State. That led Eddie George, who was doing just fine, by the way, and led him to say, who never considered coaching football, by the way, I think I'll take that job at Tennessee State. And what does he do? He brings in Hugh Jackson, who was his offensive coordinator for a year, and that leads him to do what? Gremlin has an opening. I think I'll take that job over at Gremlin State. And what has Coach Eddie George been able to do? Well, I know for a fact they got a new weight room. I know for a fact they've gotten more publicity. I know for a fact that Tennessee State is now in national media attention. Eddie George is on First Take. Eddie George was featured in a couple different national articles, as far as whether it's articles written online or on television, ESPN, etc., etc. And what has Hugh Jackson been able to do? Well, we saw what he did with the historic NIL deal. We've seen their upgrade, and Gremlin's probably got the best social media team out right now. I mean, can we be real? Outside of Prime himself, Gremlin probably got the best social media team. They've been able to attract kids from California. They got the NIL deal. They got everybody excited about the games that they're playing. Everybody excited about what's taking place this fall. Everybody excited about what's happening. Everybody diving into the history of Gremlin State University. Folks realizing like, yo, I didn't know that dude went to Gremlin. Yo, Coach Eddie Robinson, I didn't know he was that successful. Whoa, like this is what happens. That's called big business. Gremlin on front and center stage this entire weekend, especially when it came to like the Legacy Bowl, because Mr. Shaq Harris and Mr. Doug Williams created the Black College Football Hall of Fame, which helped create the Legacy Bowl. And not to mention a couple weeks earlier, we had the HBCU Combine. This is all business, man. This is all exposure. This is all going to generate revenue. These are all great things. And we're seeing the HBCU football coaches understand the business. And I'm not saying they didn't understand the business to a certain extent in years previous. But these coaches understand that, yo, it's cool to be a football coach. But at an HBCU, we also have to take care and button up the business because the money matters. The money matters. It matters. It is how you are going to be able to compete at any level. It is how you don't have to take money games where they pay you $300, $400, $500, $700, maybe $1 million to come get your brains beat in by Clemson or Ohio State or Alabama or whatever. If you get your resources tightened up, you can go out and get you a Travis Hunter. You can go out and get you a Kevin Coleman. You can go out and get you a top-ranked player. Because when they leave those programs or when they go visit the Florida States or they go visit the Ohio States and go visit these different programs and organizations across the country, and they see them like, yo, this is nice. This is pretty nice. This is nice stuff. There's no drop-off when they come and visit a FAMU. There's no drop-off when they come and visit a Gremlin. There's no drop-off when they come and visit a Jackson State. And you have that aspect, that quality that those schools can't compete. It's for us, by us. You're playing in front of people, 30, 40, 50, 60,000 people that look just like us. The crowd screaming, the sonic boom playing, the marching 100 playing, the human jukebox playing, going crazy. Halftime is just as lit or more turned than the actual football game. And then you get these opportunities like playing in a Legacy Bowl in front of legends like Doug Williams, in front of legends like Shaq Harris, for a team called Team Eddie Robinson. And folks really understanding what that means. Folks really getting the grasp of what that actually means. The winningest head football coach in college football history up into a certain point. First coach to 400 wins. 50-plus seasons as the head coach. Several Black College National Championships. Yo. But we are able to celebrate that and make that a bigger deal once the business is tightened up. You're able to X out these third-party entities. You know, I was looking, and this is no shot at Fred Jones, no shot at, you know, any of these third parties or whatever. But come on, man. Like, let's think about this. Because the thing is, if you think pennies, you're going to get you guys ever seen the Ray Charles movie? You guys ever seen the Ray Charles movie with Jamie Foxx? I love that movie. It's my granny's favorite movie ever. And I love the Ray Charles movie with Jamie Foxx because there was a one point when Ray Charles was working out his record contract and stuff, and he was talking to dude, and dude told Ray Charles, he was like, you know, if you think pennies, you're going to get pennies. But if you think dollars, you'll get dollars. For a long time, just looking at that Southern Heritage, I'll keep referencing that one because that's the contract I vividly see, and there won't be a Southern Heritage Classic from 2023 moving forward without some things getting changed. Because for a long time, it seems like these programs, these organizations were thinking pennies. and not thinking dollars. With Coach George and Coach Prime, yeah, they thinking dollars. And they ain't thinking small dollars neither. Dr. McClellan over the SWAC, he's thinking dollars. How the hell else do you work out the SWAC Classic? Think about what the man said. The man told us if 0 people show up to the game, 0, both teams are going to walk away with $500,000. So let's think about that. That's with 0. If no one comes to the game in Birmingham, Pine Bluff, Jackson State, and then Jackson State and Southern will walk away with $500,000 apiece. $500,000 apiece. That's because he was thinking dollars. That's because Ashley Robinson and Deion Sanders, they were thinking dollars. That's because Hugh Jackson thinks dollars. That's because, Willie Simmons, these folks are now thinking dollars. They're not thinking pennies. You're right, Kevin. It is a new day. It is a new day. And once your football team and these teams are bringing in that revenue, that's when you start to see more upgrades. Jackson State got all those upgrades because they got resources. And then they started winning, and then the product generated ratings. And guess what that's going to bring? More resources. And with more resources come more upgrades. And with better upgrades come better players. And with better players come a better product on the field. And with a better product on the field comes more money for everyone. Coach Brown talked about how the football team is paying for a new tennis court at Jackson State. Hugh Jackson talked about how he had one single donor, gave them $10,000 for the Gremlin State program. Tennessee State was able to upgrade their weight room. And so therefore they'll be bigger, stronger, faster on the field and hopefully get a better product on the field. Come on, man. Like, you got to make it make sense. The business got to make sense, man. And now these HBCU coaches aren't thinking pennies anymore. They're thinking dollars. And once you start thinking dollars, the sky's the limit. The sky's the limit. Coach Hugh Jackson and his contracts got it to where he get a bonus if Gremlin moves up to FBS. Now that, to me, that told me, obviously Gremlin's probably not in a position to move to FBS right now, but that means they're looking to the future. They're looking at what possibilities. I'm pretty sure the previous few coaches, Project Fobbs and them, they had that provision in their contract because they went, because the previous administration, whoever went thinking about that. They might have still been thinking pennies. These folks, it's like you said, it's a new day. These folks are thinking dollars. Folks are thinking dollars. You're right, Israel JSU is the founder of the new SWAC. Say what you want about Coach Prime. You can think he's arrogant. You can think he's a bit much. You can think people ride his coattails too much, think people are jocking him, whatever. Man, that man brought a different mindset. That man brought a different mindset. The change has been a domino effect. Across the board. Across the board, it's been a domino effect. It has been a domino effect, folks. And it's not just me saying it. Darius Leonard, South Carolina State alum, said it. Other folks have said it. Michael Strahan, Texas Southern, said it. These folks understand what's going on, man. They see the change. They see the change. And that's why I say this, I said it, if I've said it once, I said it 100 times. Deion Sanders can leave Jackson State, go to Florida State or TCU or wherever and win 10 national championships. This mindset that he's now given the rest of the SWAC, this will never leave. Dr. McClellan, Ashley Robinson, Gremlin, Mississippi Valley, Pine Bluff, Southern, Prairie View, this mindset, the standard has been set. They'll never, you never go backwards. It's like being exposed to something for the first time. It's like being exposed to the internet or Google or something. Some of y'all old enough to remember pre-Google, right? Pre the internet, where you had to actually get, if you wanted to look something, you wanted to find a GPS. Before getting a GPS, you had to look at a map to get somewhere. Look at a map to know how to find the direction or just memorize it or whatever. But then when you got a GPS, it was like your whole world was changed. You got the internet, you're like, whoa, I can Google this stuff. Hell, I can talk to my phone and ask it how to do X, Y, and Z. Guess what? I don't see too many maps being produced anymore. Ain't too many maps anymore because we don't go backwards. You go forward and you continue to build on top of these things. And so the business of the SWAC will only move forward. Now, obviously, at some point, Coach Prime will move on. Hugh Jackson will move on. You know what I'm saying? Willie Simmons will move on. These coaches will move on. And so somebody said, you can't praise the coach, Jeff, too much because the coaches will move on. And that's true. But the mindset and the foundation has been set. Foundation has been set. The standard has been set. It's like, yo, okay, I can go out and get a 5-star. It had never been done before. You know, sometimes it's hard to believe stuff when it had never been done before, but hell, it's been done. Travis Hunter chose Jackson State. He's down there right now. He plays his first game in the fall. Oh, I can go out and get a 4-star. Not even from Mississippi, 4 or 5-star. One's from Missouri, St. Louis. The other's from Georgia. Oh, I can do this. I can compete with these teams. Oh, I can send my kids to the draft. Oh, I can do. You know what I'm saying? Like, these things are now taking place. It's happened. And so even when these coaches move on, that might, like, the administration, they understand, like, yo, we can't go backwards. We just had Deion Sanders, Hugh Jackson, Eddie George, Willie Simmons, Bubba McDowell, whoever. We can't lower our standards now just because those guys are gone. Coach Dancy from Valley, we can't lower our standards now. Our standards we know what it's like to reach the mountaintop. We've been up there. We don't want to go backwards. We want to continue to rise. And that's why when I say the business of the SWAC, the business of HBCU sports, the business of HBCU football specifically has tightened up and has changed for the better, that's what I'm talking about. That's what I'm talking about. I talked about coach. Someone talked about there's a new TV deal in the works as well. Absolutely, because even Commissioner McClellan said he said they had great ratings on their ESPN Plus games and on their ESPN Plus stuff, even games that didn't feature Jackson State. Folks will say, "Oh, it's only Jackson State." No, it's not. It's not only Jackson State. It's other schools as well. But I just love that the business of the SWAC, the business, and the MEAC is up next. The business of HBCU football has been tightened up like nothing we've ever seen before. This is the greatest, I've said it before, this is the greatest time to be an HBCU football fan. This is the greatest time to be an HBCU football athlete or HBCU sports, you know, be in HBCU athletics. This is the greatest time to be an HBCU fan. It's the greatest time. You're getting more exposure than you've ever gotten. And you're watching in real time the rise of your favorite school, the rise of your favorite school's athletic department, the rise of the exposure of your favorite school, of your alumni or whatever, your alma mater. You're watching it rise and become great and tighten up its business right in front of your eyes. And now a school that you graduated from, or a school that you've rooted for years, or a school that your family has always went to, is getting the exposure that it properly deserves. It's a beautiful thing to see, man. It is a beautiful thing to see. And you see the foundation that was laid by the previous regime, the previous chapter, the Hall of Famers, the legends. You see what they laid down. You see what they sacrificed. And now it took someone, a conduit for change, to push it forward, to take the mantle and take it to a new level, a level that some people may not even thought was going to come within their lifetime. It's here. It's here. Now it's time to continue to capitalize. Now it's time to continue to partner. Now it's time to continue to give these young men and donate and do all these kind of things, to sponsor them, to get in on the NIL, to make sure they're taken care of, to show them the love and appreciation. So therefore, when the next group of 3 or 4 stars is looking at Mississippi Valley, looking at Southern, looking at Gremlin, and they ask the current guys on campus, and they ask the current coaches, and they ask the current fan base, or they ask whoever's like, yo, what's it like playing at Prairie View, playing at Pine Bluff, playing at Southern or whatever? And them cats can tell them, yo, man, it's amazing. It's like nothing you ever experienced before in your life. It's going to be the best 3 to 4 to 5 years of your life, man. Because not only are you getting a great education, which is number one, not only are you getting a great education, you're going to have a great football experience, and you're going to have fans that love you no matter what. Yeah, they're going to get on you if you have a bad game. And yeah, the YouTubers, the bloggers, and whoever are going to talk about like, yo, you should have made this pass, should have had this yard, you should have scored this touchdown, X, Y, and Z, and dissect your game. But it's never going to be personal. And they're going to love you just like you kinfolk. And that's the beauty behind it, man. That's the beauty behind it. That's why it's so beautiful, because for a long time it was on ground zero. We've just taken those steps up. We've just accelerated and expanded and grinded. So what happens when he leaves? So John asking, so look, this is an interesting question. He says, so what happens? So I'm assuming you're talking about Deion Sanders. I'm assuming you're talking about Coach Brown. What happens after he leaves? What happens is exactly what I said. The standard has already been set. The foundation has been laid. So first of all, say if he leaves after the season, let's just hypothetical. Think about what the next coach will be walking into. You'd be walking into a program that seats 50,000 people every home game. You'd be walking into a program that, if you're able to retain the roster, because we know the transfer portal is real, you have a star quarterback. You have a nuclear wide receiver room. Talent all up and down the roster. 4 and 5 stars all up and down the roster. Why wouldn't you want to go coach there? Even if Prime leaves, why wouldn't you want to go coach there? New locker room, new practice facility, all types of sponsorships, all types of, because the sponsorship, they're not signing 1-year contracts. They're not signing, if Prime leaves, my money leaves. The foundation has already been laid. The foundation is set. Who wouldn't want to walk into that job? Jackson State, AD Ashley Robinson's phone will be ringing off the hook if Coach Prime leaves today. Damn, if he leaves, and then after next year, after another possible SWAC East title, after another possible SWAC championship, after a possible trip to the Celebration Bowl, after a possible win at the Celebration Bowl, who wouldn't want to go coach at Jackson State? So that's what I'm saying. That's why the business being tightened up and the business being taken care of is critical. Because why wouldn't you want the job? Why wouldn't you want it? It's like, whoa, I get to walk into that. You seen what Deion walked into. It wasn't nothing. It wasn't nothing like what it is now. And I can't imagine what it's going to be like a year from now. So, I'm telling you, Ashley Robinson's phone will be ringing off the hook if Prime left right now. Give him another year? Come on, man. It's not even close. It's not even close. So it's what I'm saying. Like, that's why you have to look at it that way. It would be like Jackson State. I mean, because let's talk about them. Jackson State, if Deion Sanders left right now, Jackson State would be one of the most coveted jobs in the country. Period. It would be. Because of the foundation and the standard that Deion Sanders has left, Jackson State would be one of the most coveted jobs. Not one of the most coveted jobs in FCS. It'd be the number one job in FCS. I'm not talking about FCS. It would be one of the most coveted jobs in the country. Period. Not FCS, not South, not in the SWAC. It would be one of the most coveted jobs in the country, period. Why? Think about this. There's not a job in Conference USA that you would take over Jackson State. There's not a job in the American Conference that you would take over Jackson State. Cincinnati, maybe. Cincinnati made the playoff. Especially if you're a black man. Especially if you're a black coach. Especially if you're a coach that want to be in the South and coach Southern athletes. Now you're looking at like the Big Ten in Jackson State or Iowa. If we're talking about just as a coach, as a black man, as a black coach, what are you going to have more fun doing, coaching Jackson State or Iowa? If you're not in hurt, now if you're a coach that's just coaching and is trying to make a living and make a bunch of money off coaching, okay, those jobs are more appealing. Those jobs are more appealing. If you're trying to make $3, $4, $5, $10 million coaching, okay, you got me there. You're not going to get a $75 million contract like what Jimbo got from Texas A&M at Jackson State. We understand that. But if you're coaching for the love of the game, you're coaching and you love black people, you be one, as we say on this platform, you're going to take Wisconsin or Iowa over Jackson State. You're going to take it over 60,000 to look like you. And the foundation has already been set, and the legend status that you can submit yourself. Deion Sanders is a legend in HBCU football. Already. He's a legend. Absolutely, positively, no doubt in my mind. He is a legend. When he could leave Jackson State right now, and I think they should build a statue. Now they should got to make sure W.C. Gordon is taken care of first, and Walter Payton, and all those guys. But Deion right up there with them, as far as I'm concerned. In this new day and age, internet age, come on now. You mean to tell me there's somebody in the modern day HBCU that's done more than Deion Sanders has done in 1 year at Jackson State? We're talking about 1 year. He got there in December 2020. We're in February of 2022, so we're talking about 16 months, 18 months. Come on, man. Come on. Like, there's no, like, come on. Let's see. Coach Prime is godsend for HBCU football, and I hope and pray he don't leave. Eventually he'll leave. He'll move on. And I'm not saying he'll leave for another coaching job or nothing like that, but he'll eventually move on. He'll eventually want to find something else to do. But in 16 months, what he's done for the HBCU sporting community, it's unparalleled. It's unparalleled. The amount of eyeballs, the attention, the money, the business, the sponsorships, the leverage he's given them. Jackson State will draw more people both in attendance in person, because we just saw 42,000, and TV ratings than a lot of FBS Power 5 schools. They'll draw more attention both in the building and on television than a ton of FBS programs. Most FBS programs. Now we got to go to Power 5. And even with Power 5, it's not much competition. There's not much competition. If we took the impressions, or if we took the Twitter rankings or social media rankings, there's been no FCS program that's been talked about more than Jackson State, and now recently Gremlin. And it's not even close. It's not even close. And what do they have in common? They have celebrity head coaches that know football, that been around football, that's able to recruit, that's able to get people to talk, it's able to get their names brought up in rooms that previously they weren't being brought up in. And that's just that simple. The business, that matters. The business, that matters. X's and O's. X's and O's are important. X's and O's are very important, because none of this matters if Jackson State goes 1-11 and not 11-1, or 2-11 and not 11-2. We wouldn't even be talking like this. We wouldn't even be talking about this if they were 2-11 and not 11-2. And that's why it's going to be critical for Hugh to get some success. But he looked like he's going to do it, because he's stockpiling a whole lot of talent. He's stockpiling a whole lot of talent, not just on as far as the players, but a coaching staff. Hell, before Hugh could even coach a game, the NFL came plucking his staff. Before Hugh ever coached a game at Gremlin, the NFL, Houston Texans said, "Oh, I think I'll take your offensive coordinator. I think I'll have him come coach for us, because he's that good." And what Hugh do? Allegedly, he allegedly went out and got Art Browse, one of the most prolific coaches in the history of college football. People act like we ain't been hot before, Coach Brown. Don't get it twisted. Whether we would tell them, let them know. I will say though, Coach Prime put you on a different stratosphere, but it's not just Jackson State though. Everybody, he put them all on a different stratosphere, and now you can't go backwards. Once you get exposed, and that's the thing about our people. Once you get exposed, I've said this in context to other things, but once you are exposed to Black excellence, you can't go backwards. You can't never go back to the old thing that you were doing. And so whether it's Deion Sanders or the next guy, whoever, the next guy after Hugh, whoever, we're not, trust me, we're not going to push our coaches out the way. They still got a lot of work to do, and they still got a whole bunch more they want to do. But we're not going to, but you can't, once you're exposed to black excellence, you can't go backwards. You can't ever go back to whatever you were previously doing. Ashley Robinson knows that. Gremlin knows this. Mississippi Valley knows this. FAMU knows this. You can't ever go back. You can't ever go back. So, yeah, he does have something to prove. He does have something. He understands that. But you hear how serious he is about winning. You heard what he said, right? You guys heard what I think I played you this clip. Let me play it for you again, because you heard what he said. You heard what he said when it came to winning. He's not messing around. Hold on. Let me run this clip real quick, Because you heard what he said when it came to winning. This is how serious he is about it. This is how serious Coach Hugh is about it, about winning, about making it happen. And then I'm going to play for you something from Coach Prime that lets you know this is not just him. He's bringing it all together. Let's take a listen. This is Hugh when he was on the Pivot podcast. Let's take a listen.
Yeah, the flame. But Hugh, one more thing. This is my argument, and this is my thing, and I keep putting it. I put it on everybody. Yes.
Listen to
resources.
Resources. Number one.
Seen big schools, you're going
listen to
him to try to get people.
I have money.
No.
So if that's what it takes, I'm gonna do whatever it takes to get Gremlin State University to be right on the line of where you think
talk to him
and everybody else. And I'm gonna ask all of this Graham fam,
talk to him,
go in your pocket to come help us be the best we can be. Because that's all you can do is ask. All they can do is say no.
And how could
as all they can do is say no, man. Like this is generational, man. You got like I think honestly, in all honesty, guys, and I swear on everything, I mean this. In all honesty, we're living in the moment. We won't be able to appreciate it until it's over. We will not be able to appreciate this moment in time, what's taking place right now. We will not be able to appreciate it the way that we should until it's over. Listen to Coach Prime and what he's doing for all the schools in Mississippi, for all the HBCUs in Mississippi. This is bigger than just Jackson State, guys. This is bigger than just JSU.
March the 21st, we're having a combine, pro combine.
Come on.
Combine, right here on the campus. Tell them a little bit about it.
Hey, look, we got Alcorn, we got Delta State, we got Mississippi Valley, we got Mississippi College. We got some guys from all the state of Mississippi coming to this campus to represent their schools and try to get a chance at the next level.
I've heard from the NFL, they're going to not only they sending a plethora of scouts, but they sending the NFL cameras as well, because our kids deserve the same things as the Prime Fives. All right, that's March the 21st. Alcorn, Mississippi Valley, Delta State, and Mississippi College, right here on the campus of JSU. NFL, you better get ready.
And now, if you don't think this is a big deal, right? Some of y'all are saying, well, it's not even a big deal. If you don't think this is a big deal, let me make sure this is big, because I want to make sure you guys are able to see this. I posted this on my Twitter, right? I posted this, the thing we just watched. It got almost 20,000 views. So that means a lot of people tapped in. Over 300 retweets and 76 quote tweets. And look what the people are saying. This is major. Look at this is how big this is. We're witnessing history. This is major. Yes, sir. This is Mississippi Valley guy. Come on, JSU. This is what it's about. God's timing. This is a football player at Delta State, by the way. LaMarquez Thomas. God's timing, undefeated. So that lets you know how big this is. This is dope. Coach Prime pushing it. All things through. Y'all HBCUs better pull up. I love this. Opportunities to make a difference. Prime putting the nation on notice about the SWAC not about to get it. Like, this is huge. Look at all the great tweets from everybody who's excited about this, what's taking place. This is major, man. This is a moment in history. Like, we're literally witnessing it. And so that's all I have to say, man. I've been on here rambling 45 minutes. I came on here to talk about the business of college football. College football is big business. And now it looks like the HBCUs are being able to take care of that big business. They're joining the party. We might have been late to the party. We was probably a little bit late. But we're here to sit down. We're staking our claim. We're joining the party. And we letting it be known. Like, hey, you know what I'm saying? Like, hey, we pulling up a chair. We pulling out our money. And we're gambling just like everybody else. But this ain't a gamble. This is a takeover. We taking this home. We taking this home. We taking everything with us. We walking home with all of this. And I love it. I love it because you have business savvy coaches who know business. You have business savvy athletic directors. The SWAC has a business savvy commissioner. And they're not settling as if they're second class citizens anymore. They were treated like second class citizens for a long time. They were looked at as second class citizens or second class football by the viewing public, by the general public, by the nation for a long time. That day has changed. That day has changed. Those days are gone. Those days are old. When you get Hall of Fame coaches or Hall of Fame players and former NFL coaches coming to the SWAC or considering coming to the SWAC. Not just considering, now they're taking jobs in the SWAC. Things have changed. It is time to level up, Bernard. You're right. It's time to level up. And that's why I'm pushing hard. I've started the campaign, and I'm trying to see Ray Lewis as the head coach of Morgan State. I'm trying to see Ray. It's right there in Baltimore. Ray Lewis is a legend in Baltimore. And think about the resources he'd be able to bring to a school that's in Baltimore. Y'all seen what Prime did at Jackson State. Now, you can disagree with Ray Lewis and his political stances. He ain't always said the best stuff politically, and I understand that. But we're talking about football, and we're talking about resources, and we're talking about leadership, and we're talking about building better men. You seen what Prime did at Jackson. What you think Ray Lewis will be able to do in Baltimore? Like, seriously, what do we think Ray Lewis? Like, we do realize Ray Lewis in Baltimore would be able to move heaven and earth for the Morgan State football program, for the Morgan State University. He'd be able to move heaven and earth by the resources and the things that he'd be able to accomplish at a school like Morgan State. And it's not like he possibly couldn't be interested. People are saying, nah, he would never go there. He'd never do that. He'd never go coach at a Morgan State. They can't afford him. They can't afford him. There's nothing they could do to get. There's nothing they could do to get a Ray Lewis. Why would he go do that? Why would he even consider that? That doesn't even make sense. Yada, nah. All of this. And then I pull stuff like this up. Deion Sanders says Ravens legends Ray Lewis and Ed Reed want to coach at HBCUs. Written back just in 2021. Deion Sanders says Ravens legends. Ray Lewis and Ed Reed. Want to coach at HBCUs. Where was all of that? He wouldn't want to do it. Now, granted, I haven't talked to Ray. I don't know Ray Lewis from Adam. But Coach Prime, he knows him a little bit. He played up there in Baltimore. He knows Ed Reed a little bit. We understand. We all know it was well sourced that Ed Reed strongly considered the Gremlin job before Hugh Jackson took the job. They offered it to Ed Reed, who was a Louisiana native, by the way, and he strongly considered it. So Prime, he tends to know what he's talking about. Ed Reed strongly considered the Gremlin job. Only reason, from what I've been told, only reason why Ed Reed didn't take the Gremlin job is because Mario Cristobal, who was a Miami alum, became the head coach of Miami at the U. And Ed Reed wants to help build up Miami before he takes his HBCU job. Because as Deion Sanders told us, he and Ray Lewis want to coach at HBCUs. I'm not saying, you know what I'm saying? I'm not saying I'm the brightest bulb, but I can read clues and I can take a hint. I'm just saying, man. That's all I got today, though, guys and ladies. Thank you all. Once again, my name is JeffLightsYJr. with the Black Boss Channel and Victory Formation. Subscribe to my YouTube channel, JeffLightsYJr. Subscribe to my YouTube channel, JeffLightsYJr. Hit that thumbs up button on your way out. Please hit that thumbs up button. We're talking about the business of HBCU football, the big business that is, because more and more dollars are coming towards HBCUs. That is for sure. You can guarantee that. You can follow me on Instagram and Twitter, specifically Twitter at JLightsy7. This is Instagram and Twitter at JLightsy7. Yeah, somebody talked about J.R. Smith. J.R. Smith, he knows the big business. He understands that it's coming. He understands the change is taking place not now, but right now. Thank you all for tuning in. Once again, my name is JeffLightsYJr. at the Black Boss Channel. Hit that thumbs up button on your way out, and I will see you guys next time. Peace.